there are these messages that are given out like, oh, you're good enough as you are. Nothing is wrong with you. You deserve to be happy, and all this other fluffy, it's bullshit to
Mm.
me. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm overly harsh. But in my view, like these are empty statements that are almost like rationalizations for why there are no results in your life, right? So this sort of mentality and an outcome of this is something like Twitter
Mm.
and the mob justice thing that happens. As soon as there's something that you don't like, you throw a tantrum or a fit, and somebody else takes care of it for you,
Mm.
right? Like before, it used to be exclusively the government because that's what you would rebel against. Now you just rebel against whatever the hell you want to rebel against on Twitter, and somebody takes care of it for you.
Mm.
Now, going back to the fitness example, I'm going to use the being overweight example because I personally used to be obese. I'm 5'6" for context. I'm not a very tall person. I used to be probably wider than I was taller. I mean, that's probably not true, but you know what I'm saying, like,
We
right?
get the picture, yeah.
Yeah. And this is an entirely solvable problem, right?
Mm.
I never, when somebody would make fun of me and say, hey, why are you so fat or whatever, it didn't go through my mind that I'm being shamed. What
Mm.
went through my mind was like, this is incentive to improve my life and be better, right?
Mm.
So, for example, it's an entirely solvable problem, barring any medical conditions or whatever. Just eat less bullshit and walk a bit more every now and then.
Mm.
Now, because of the marketing angles that we were discussing, now what's easier to sell? Like, you're perfect the way you are, nothing's wrong with you, or, get off your ass and go make shit happen.
Mm.
Now, so, okay, I guess long-windedly what I'm coming at is like anything in life that makes you happy. I guess just to wrap up that obesity example, I lost in a span of I think 2 years, I lost 90 pounds and became lean and chiseled as hell. And it was the greatest feeling ever because people would come up to me and be like, "Oh my God, how did you do that?" And I thought they were making fun of me, but no, they were truly inspired, right?
Mm.
So that was something that I really hold close to my heart as a accomplishment because it took me a long time, and I used to be obese for such a long time,
Mm.
and that gave me genuine happiness. But when I used to hear shit like, "Oh, dude, you're fine the way you are," and then I would believe it, and I'd go out clubbing and be kind of clueless, like, I wonder why the girls are not interested in me because nothing's wrong with me, right? I'm perfect the way
Right.
I am. So I'm trying to tie in everything. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. No, well, I think there's quite a lot to unpack there because so I agree with you that when I see this kind of this like a generic message just like posted on the internet, it's, oh, you're perfect the way you are, you're loved, and whatever. It's like it's a bit sad. It's a bit sad if you because it clearly people have a need for this. People have a need to be seen and accepted. And it's like if you have to like go to the internet where someone anonymously posts a message addressed to everyone to get that's really sad because I think you should be getting that from people who are close to you. Which is I'm not blaming the people making those things or the people consuming them. I'm just saying like the fact that this is around seems to be a sign that something is going wrong somewhere else, you know. And yeah, like I said, it's quite a lot of stuff that you touched on that I think is relevant. I mean, one is okay with obesity and fat shaming. Well, first of all, I think that there's like two sides to this, which is one is like what environment are we in, and the other is how resilient are we. And right now, at least it seems like woke culture on the internet, and interestingly also anti-woke culture, right? Arguably the only thing more fragile than someone who's super woke is someone who's super anti-woke, right? It's like they just like shatter into pieces at the smallest thing that they disagree with. But there seems to be this strong tendency online for these groups to form where you have this, I don't know, this coddling. It's essentially this coddling, right? So where it's like you have like whatever safe spaces and you can't say this and you can't say that and you have to ask someone's pronouns before you address them and all this kind of stuff, right? Where it's like the intention behind that, I think, is good. because you're basically saying, look, there are people struggle with all kinds of things. Like you don't know what someone's gone through, and you don't want to be trampling over someone who's already on their last leg, And I think it can happen. I mean, it can definitely happen that without intending to, you maybe say something or you make a comment or something that just absolutely destroys someone because they're already, they're already struggling so much, right? But I think the problem is that, you can definitely take this too far, because really, you definitely want to live in a world where people aren't being mean to each other and people aren't being bullied and stuff like that. But you also want to live in a world where people are not so fragile. So ideally, you shouldn't be so bloody fragile. Or at least for me, that's the ideal, right? I am more interested in becoming someone who can deal with whatever happens than in trying to create a world where there's no sharp edge anywhere where I could maybe bump against, It's like you said, it's like ideally if someone makes a joke about you being a fat ass, I mean, hopefully it's a good joke, right? That's often the problem also with bullying. It's like, oh, I'm just kidding, bro. Well, why isn't it funny then? Right? But if someone makes a good joke that maybe touches on something that you're sensitive about, like ideally, you want to be resilient enough to just say, yeah, fine, okay, right? It's like, yeah, if I'm fat and you call me fat, you're just stating the truth. You want to be able to see things as they are, and if there are indeed people who are easily triggered by all kinds of things, I think that the solution isn't to put a trigger warning on everything, or that strikes me as not the ideal solution. Like the ideal solution is to think about how come this person is so fragile, and what can we do to strengthen this person? How can we make sure, and also like on a bigger picture, it's like how can we make sure that we create a system that creates resilient people? We've talked about this on the team as well a couple of times. It's like there's this kind of, if you've ever worked on a building site, there's often like a lot of swearing and a lot of kind of insults being tossed around everywhere. And that can be very toxic. But I think many examples, or at least examples of this that I've experienced, are actually very friendly. It's like everybody's having friendly jabs at each other and so on. And everyone is very blunt with each other. But really, when someone throws an insult your way, they're not trying to hurt you. They're actually just inviting you to play. They're like, throwing that insult at you. And the idea is you throw one back. And, can you be witty? Can you say something? Can you turn it on them, right? That's the game that's being played. And I would much rather be in an environment where everyone's super blunt with each other and everyone's like jokingly throwing insults about, and everyone's okay with that, than to be in an environment where everybody's like walking on eggshells all the time, right? And ideally, there can also arise some like useful truth out of that, because that can be the environment where someone can tell you, listen, I love you, bro, but you're a fat ass and it's your fault. And maybe that's what you need to hear. Like sometimes that is what you need to hear. But then let me also say another thing about this. The way I see this, if you look at these two approaches, right? One of them is, dude, you're fat, get off your ass, do something, It's kind of the brutal truth, right? The kind of big brother type approach. And I mean that not in terms of big brother who's watching you. I mean like older brother, right? Older brother who's just like telling you like it is, but also kind of in a loving way. That's the one thing. The other thing is this kind of, you're perfect the way you are. Don't worry about it. You're loved. You're blah, 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 right? Look, I think everybody needs both of those things. I think that's the truth of it. I think that just like we need intensity and rest, right? We need intensity and rest. You need times where you go, okay, now I'm going hard. I'm doing something super difficult. It's like I'm expending my energy. And then after a period of doing that, I need to rest. And I need to be able to relax. And I need to not have to perform. And then I can be intense again and so on. And I think similarly, that we basically need both of those things. It's like we need to be able to go out into the world, and the world sometimes knocks us around, and maybe someone tells us something unpleasant that is also true. And then we need to come back to, and this is a role that originally our parents play for us, hopefully. And in other contexts, or later on, other people in our close social circle, we basically have to be able to return to the nest where someone can tell us, it's fine, it's fine. And it doesn't always have to be, because the two sides of this, if we stay with the obesity example, is that on the one hand, someone can tell you the brutal truth. They listen, you're fat, it's your fault, do something about it. And that can be motivating, but maybe it can also sometimes be a bit much to deal with. And then you can come back, and in a different context, someone can tell you, okay, it takes time, right? You're not going to lose weight from one moment to the next. If this is something you really want, you can. I believe in you. But also, by the way, you can also continue being fat. That's fine too. Like, nobody actually cares. you know what I mean? It's like, and I think that the truth is we need both. Ideally, you get both. You get intensity and you get rest. You get, performing and recovering. So this is basically my response to kind of the squabbling about which is right, which side is right. Are the woke people right who are putting trigger warnings on everything, or are the anti-woke people right who are shouting about freedom and whatnot? Freedom of speech. I think that basically the conflict, I think this about many things, so maybe that's just my whatever. Feel free to criticize my centrism here or something, but I often feel like the debate that's being paraded in front of us is missing the point.
Yeah. I think what you're trying to say is like, these are two sides to the same coin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, it probably did sound like I was trying to advocate for no, which is like go up to everyone and be like, no, listen, you're fat. Go fucking fix your life. No, obviously not, right? Yeah, but there is a point to why I was bringing that up, and the point was, like, this is a traditionally masculine trait, right? Like, for example, the way you describe the construction workers, and they say something like, "Hey, dickhead," or whatever, right? Imagine being the guy who takes offense in that scenario. Like, oh man, you will never hear the end of it from everyone else, right? You don't want to be that guy. So at that point, or in that scenario, you want to learn to toughen up, have a bit of thick skin, and be like, okay, I'm gonna get this bastard next time, right? That's what goes through your mind.